Welcome to Conversations with Spirit, where we dive deep into the mystical and enchanting realms of spirituality. I'm your host, spiritual medium Lauri, and together with special guests, we explore a world of spiritual insights and experiences, as well as offer captivating mediumship and oracle card readings. Tune in for enlightening conversations that will uplift your soul and expand your consciousness. Awesome. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with Spirit. I am so happy to be here tonight. First of all, I'm excited to be here just because I love the community that we've built here. That we're building, I should say, right? But second of all, oh my gosh, my friend Erin Gallagher is here. Yay. I was just telling her, you guys, that she is kind of like becoming like a soul sister. Like she says things and I'll be like, oh, and it's interesting that I should say it that way because it's really about synchronicity, which is exactly what we're talking about tonight. So yay, let's just go jump right in, Erin, right?
Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be, right? Just like let it be messy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So how are you tonight, Erin? Are you doing good?
I'm good. I'm really excited to talk about this topic because so many people ask me about it. It's like the number one thing I get about messages from spirit or God or the universe, whatever you call it, and how to understand what it means and how to tune into our own intuition to figure it out. Because a lot of people will jump right in and be like, they'll ask me, hey, what is this sign? I'm like, what does it mean for you? Because I can tell you, I can like look into your psychic, aura and see, but I want you to do the work too. Like, feel it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what's so great about this whole conversation, because it's something that and I know I say this about other things too, but it's something that we're all aware of, it's something that we all, whether you're into spirituality or not, it's something that we're all aware of, like synchronicity,
Yeah,
So
and any kind of, whether it's like, even just having it be like, even the words coincidence, you know what I mean? It's the same thing, kind of like just a different word, even though it's like, it's not really a coincidence because it all happens. It's all a piece of like a jigsaw puzzle that fits. As everyone knows, whether they're deeply spiritual or not, when you look back on something that you think was terrible or weird in the moment, you see exactly why it was supposed to happen that way.
Yeah.
And that's a synchronicity,
Yeah, exactly. And that's like kind of the cool part of this conversation, because when you really, okay, so I'm just going to get deep really fast. When you really think about it, life is all synchronistic, I mean, when you think about it, it's like, I said to, who was it that I was talking to the other day? And I'm like, we've had past lives together. I know it without a doubt. Right. And I knew who I was talking to, my dear, dear friend. And I was like, I know that we have, even though we didn't meet until about 15, 20 years ago. It doesn't matter. There's that feeling of like, I feel like I know her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and isn't that interesting how that happens? Like some people you'll just see and you just, I know you, I met you, or even your doppelganger, someone you might look just like, and you're looking at each other like you're looking in a mirror, like what's just happening here?
Exactly.
Or a love interest or something where it just feels like I've known you or been with you or before, where it just feels easy right away and not like you have to get to know each other. It's like, I don't need to get to know you. I already do.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? That's so funny. And that's been happening to me a lot more lately. That whole, like, we're just like, we just go. I mean, it's like you meet each other and you're just off, like you're off to the races, kind of thing.
Yeah. And the more aware of it you become, the more regular it becomes because you are acknowledging it. The second you acknowledge, and that's how anything is in life, right? The second you acknowledge something's going on, then you're able to really understand it in a myriad of different ways. So it's really nice to be able to kind of go like, yeah, that's happening.
Well, and you know what, too, what's funny is that right before I shouldn't say right before we started, but all day today, I was trying to keep like a list of all the things that I feel like could be synchronistic or, oh, wow. Skaya says, my new boyfriend and I keep having deja vu with each other. It's so strange. That is awesome. Oh my gosh, that is just amazing. I love hearing that because, and it's funny because the deja vu thing comes into play too. But anyway, what I was going to say is that I've been keeping this list today of the things that feel synchronistic, the things that happen. Like I'll look up into the sky. And this was my first one that I thought, right? Earlier today, I looked up in the sky and there's a lot of times there aren't clouds here. I'm not going to get into why or anything, right? But a lot of times I look up into the sky and there's no clouds. But today I looked up and it looked like a person, and it looked like that the person was smiling, and I'm just like, that can be synchronistic as well. Because if you look at it, like, thank you, or like I've looked up to the sky. I don't know about you, like multiple times and seen angels. I mean, it's just what
and a big piece of kind of the root of any kind of synchronicity is trusting yourself. And so if somebody is, doesn't either understand synchronicities or hasn't felt it, a lot of times it could be like, well, maybe you have an issue with trusting yourself or so it's like, there's a deeper part of it too, because there's, then there's people that are like, oh, you're just seeing this and that, or, oh, you're just making that, or whatever the story is, it's like, but imagination is everything, and
and the thing is, sometimes you just need to believe, I mean, what was that movie where it was like, is believing seeing or is seeing believing?
Yeah. And it's interesting you say that, because there's one of my very first memories, it was actually my very first kind of like traumatic memory, because I broke my arm when I was 5, really, really young. But my mom said right before I broke my arm for like a number of weeks, maybe like 4 to 6 weeks, I kept wearing a sling around my left arm before I broke it.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That is so cool.
And I used to always tell myself that like, oh, I caused my arm to break because I wore it over and over again. And so my arm was like, well, if she's wearing a sling, I might as well break. But then something switched with me where I was like, wait, what if I knew it was going to happen before it happened?
Right.
Even at 5 years old. And so I started wearing a sling, preparing for it, and then it happened.
Yeah.
And so just like you said when it's all perception.
Yeah.
So whatever you believe or perceive is what the truth is. That's why when people come to me and they're like, what does this synchronicity mean exactly? And I'm like, it's going to be different. Not like, I can tell you, I can look in your Akashic records. I can do a psychic reading. I can see what that means for you. But if you don't perceive it that way, or I want the people to tell me what they feel from it first. So I'll kind of like, close your eyes, go within, feel. Tell me what you feel and see, and colors, anything weird, anything, just tell me. And then we kind of build on that. And then I will say what I'm seeing, but I want people to really trust themselves first and see what the synchronicities mean for them, because people are always running to TikTok psychics or this and that person. It's like, when we're doing that, we're putting our trust in someone else that they know more than we do about our own path.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Well, and you know what? There's so much to unpack into what you just said, because that's the reality of all of this. If you trust yourself, if you believe, that, that you saw angel in the sky, then you saw an angel in the sky. You have to believe it, and it's interesting because on my Instagram, music says, oh my God, yes, I love looking at the sky, always get synchronicities, cloud magic. I love that, cloud magic. That is awesome.
It's so magical. And we were talking about this before we went live, that I always, when I'm talking to, because I'm a psychic, but I'm also an intuitive development teacher. It's really at my core to like support people in learning.
Right.
And they're already psychic. People are already psychic. It's just disconnect, like clearing the static from hearing the messages.
Yeah.
And I always tell my people the miracles are in the mundane, which is like, the miracles are in the tiny little things that you may be passing by looking for the big things. You might be looking for these huge things, not realizing all of the little tiny details, synchronicities that you're not seeing because you're so focused on trying to see these big. And that's kind of a downside of the spiritual communities online and stuff, is that you're looking for all these huge signs when it's like, wait, like, look at the tiny things, because those are the huge miracles.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Dominique says, oh, this is such a great comment. I have been seeing 999 and 777 repeatedly. So I ask out loud, okay, universe, if that message is for me, let me see it 2 more times. Boom. Sometimes it will happen 3 or 4 times. Absolutely. Oh my
I
God.
love that.
And Janine says all the time. I love that, right?
I love that too. Yeah. And I love that, Dominique, about like asking for confirmation. I
Yeah.
always tell people that your spirit guides, your soul guides are standing around with clipboards. Like, what do you want from us? Like, tell us. They need permission to support you, and they need to know like that it's okay. Otherwise, if they're sending you a bunch of signs and symbols and you're not ready, it's going to scare you, and they don't want to scare you. So that's why I tell people, like, in order to manage the connection, like, say, ask for one sign, or like, hey, today from 9 to 5, can you show me? And you can ask for anything, a color, a sign, a symbol, anything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And see what happens. Just let it be fun and light, you know?
Right. Well, and that's the kicker. You just really touched on something so super important. You've got to keep it light and fun. You know,
Yes.
spirit in my life, I have noticed that the lighter things are with me, you know, the lighter my spirit is, so to speak, the more stuff that I get, the more signs, the more symbols, the more little messages from spirit I get, you
Yeah.
know.
And you
But
have to, it's interesting.
Mhm.
When I first started doing readings for people, I didn't realize I didn't really have kind of rules and requirements for my guides and my energy. So I get a lot of people that were in resistance. They were just like,
Yeah.
well, I
Yeah.
don't see that. And it was very hard for me because I thought, I think I'm not doing the right thing. And then I realized, wait, I'm doing the right thing. I'm just working with not the right people. Right.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I always make sure when I work with people that they know, especially since the work I do is mostly with Akashic records, and those
Right.
messages are very, so if somebody comes in with a very like, and they're worried about something, I'm like, it's going to help a lot more if you're very open about what I'm seeing here. Because it might be something you don't think has anything to do with what you're asking. Just be
Mhm.
open and allow it to be, because it's going to be metaphors and all sorts of weird messages. And sometimes you don't see it until later. So it's the more like light and open you are. And I know sometimes that's hard if you're dealing with something and you really need support.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, it is when you're just like able to, the less restriction and like, what's the word, when you're like in resistance to something, the less of that, the better. Sometimes you can't help it and you just are in resistance to something because you're upset, you know,
Of
or whatever.
course, absolutely. It happens
Yeah.
all the time, even to us light workers. Yes, it does.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and that's why it's like we need a lot of downtime, restoration. That's been something coming up lately with the full moon, restoration. Like, I don't
Yes.
know about anyone in this room right now, but anyone that's been feeling the extra dense, heavy energies, there's a lot of astrological stuff going on. It's heavy, so you want to really not work on, but breathe into like restoration and letting your body rest and your
Right.
cells regenerate, you know, whether they're energetic or physical. It's like we need
Yeah.
that time or it's too much.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
right? And that's why this is the perfect subject for tonight, you know, because it can be, because we are keeping it a light conversation, it is a light conversation. So I want to read to you what Elizabeth just said. I'm experiencing synchronistic events that span years and involve past life events that sound like a sci-fi movie. I was told to write a book about it. Wow, that is something else. They all weave into a story. Then absolutely. You know, here's the thing. You've been told to write a book. Maybe that was the nudge. Maybe it was supposed to be a book and the somebody had to tell you because you weren't picking up, oh, this is a book, you know? So maybe that is a book. So try
especially
it. Ooh,
especially if we're really in it. If we're so
yeah.
in it and we don't
Mhm.
have that like pulled back, or if you're seeing it and it starts to become a regular thing, it's sometimes hard to get that perspective outside of it. But that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
And I've had that happen too, where I will see a sort of reflection or synchronicity in another movie, or someone will say,
Oh, for sure.
someone will like if that thing that you saw in your like, or that synchronicity you saw 5 days later, someone says or starts talking about the same thing, then you all of a sudden it's just boom, boom, boom. It starts to like create a chain.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then it can be also be like more personal, you know, like I swear, oh my God, it is so, it gives me chills every time I hear this. Okay, so let me just tell you. So my mother has been passed for about 5.5 years. And she used to say this thing to me on the phone when we were getting, oh, I'm gonna cry. She used to say this thing to me whenever before we would hang up. I'd say, love you, mom, and she'd go, I love you more. And then we'd hang up and I'd be like, oh, darn it, you know, kind of thing. Like she went up to me, you know, kind of
I
thing.
know.
But now for some reason, people are saying that like all the time to me, like, oh, love you more. Or I'm hearing somebody else say it to somebody else or whatever. And to me, talk about, oh my gosh, Dose of Sunshine says, stop. That's my thing with my mom. Oh my God, that is so cool.
Of course. That's
That
that's
is,
a synchronicity. We're
yes,
talking about synchronicity.
yes.
Spirit knows it. It starts to
Yep.
plant synchronicities even in what we're talking about. It's very meta.
Yep, yep, yep. Isn't it though? It is very meta, right? But it's so beautiful because whenever I hear somebody say that, whether it's to somebody else or, you know, whatever, I'll get chills and I'll just know it's from my mom.
Mom.
I'll know
Yeah.
it's a message from my mom. Same thing with my dad. My dad, he used to call me kid. That was like his nickname for me. I don't know why, but I mean, I was a kid and maybe it's because I was the youngest. I don't know. But anyway, he would call me kid. And I like right after he passed, my dad passed like 24 years ago, right? And right after he passed, I started seeing signs. Like, how many times do you like watch a movie or whatever and they nickname or call somebody kid? You
Yep.
know, I mean, it doesn't happen. It happens, but it doesn't happen that often.
No,
All
it
of a
doesn't.
sudden, all the time, I'm seeing like kid, and I'm just like, hi, dad, you know? So when that happens, then I go into this weird place of like me being me going, oh my God, dad, hi, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, well, that's another funny part. Something that just hit me is signs and symbols that you may that's the thing too about not getting too connected to how it may look or how you're used to it
Exactly.
looking, because it could be something different. So for example, he could, called you kid all the time. You could see, and I know this sounds weird, but I know you're not going to think it's weird, but you could see like a baby goat, right? Is that what they call a kid?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
So
for
like
sure.
how you can see
Absolutely.
something else. So for example, one time I asked my spirit guides, because I was about to go to a retreat in San Diego and I kept feeling on the fence about it. So I said, if I'm meant to go to this, and I wanted to pick weird signs, so it'd be like, if I
Right.
saw it, I knew it was like for sure.
Oh,
So I
that's
said, if I'm meant to go to this, show me a pig. And if I'm not meant to go to San Diego on this retreat, show me an ant. And then I realized, I was like, oh my gosh, wait, what if they showed me like my Aunt Shannon? Like, and then I had to specify, I mean, like
right.
an actual animal of ant. And
Right.
right when I said that, I was walking home from my chiropractor, a truck like pulled out in front of me, like right in front of me, where it was like, it was almost like, it felt like the truck was like, look, you have to look at the side of me or whatever. And it
Right.
was a
Right.
big ant on the side of a truck, because
Oh,
it was like a pest control truck.
oh my God.
And it
Right.
pulled right in front of me, and it was just this big bug right out the front. I'm like, okay, well, I got my answer.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Isn't that great? Like, I love hearing you guys. If you have any stories, share them. I'd love to hear it.
Yes.
I have a really fun story in terms of this too. Whenever I was first starting to develop my gifts, this had to have been 20 years ago. You know, it was just right around that time when things were percolating. Actually, it had to be more than that. It was probably more than 20 years ago because I get, you know, when you have a kid, everything is how old was she or the child, whenever, you know, anyway.
Yes.
So however long ago, it doesn't matter. But I was in the house and I had literally just found out my daughter and I had to go to the grocery store, but I got my college, you know, that, you know, they send out the thing every year and they tell you who's married, who died, who was born, blah, blah,
Oh
blah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know what you're talking
Right. So I found out that my college boyfriend died. And I had to sit down. I was very upset, obviously. I mean, you know, I was really upset. I was like, whoa, I did not know this, blah, blah, blah. Went through this whole thing. And then all of a sudden, and this is right at the beginning of my like thing, my development, right? And I just felt like he was there, like he was with me. And I was like, well, this is strange. And then because I'm not scared of anything like that, right? I was like, is this you? And then I was like, okay, you know what? Carly and I have to go to the store. If this is you, the store was like a mile and a half away, right? If this is really you, then I'm going to see a lady with long dark hair walking a whatever kind of dog. And I was like, yeah, that's good. And I thought, no, that's not good enough. That's like too, like, it's so easy. I live in suburbia, very easily. And I'll like double check that, or I'll think that, I'll think that that's just not real. Right. So I thought, okay, you know what? If it's really you, Kirk, you're going to make it seem that you're going to make me see an orange Corvette. Right. So no, seriously, Erin, when was the last time you saw an orange Corvette? Right? You just don't.
I don't know if I've ever seen it. Maybe it'll.
I know, right? Exactly. You have to make it difficult, right? So I'm laughing because I'm pretty sure I'm talking to him, but I'm not sure right here. So we leave the house, and sure enough, I turn the corner and there's this lady walking a dog, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Oh, but then I was like, "Oh, I don't know, whatever." And I can envision the rest of this like it was yesterday. My daughter's in the back seat. She's real young. She doesn't have any idea what's going on, right? But all of a sudden, sure enough, right in front of me, pulls out and makes a turn, an orange Corvette, right? So I just went, because again, this is very, very, very new in my development, right? And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. And
so I was like, oh my God. And meanwhile, I'm trying not to freak out my kid, whatever. But I pulled over, right? And with my kids still in the car, obviously, right? I pulled over and had this whole conversation with my college boyfriend. And I was like, oh my God, how are you? Are you doing okay? What's it like up there? It's like, it's so stupid because then it felt like it was real. Right. And it was like he was sitting right next to me.
Yeah.
And that was,
tell people that, like,
so
think
cool.
of the craziest thing you can, also be open to it looking like it could be a few meanings. My thing is that if you know internally and you go, that's it, it is. A lot of times we try to convince ourselves out of, oh no, I must have seen it, or oh no, we try to like talk ourselves out of it. It's like, no, don't do that. You know it was real. Don't even pretend yourself out of it or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. We have all these stories. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm gonna read a couple so that you guys can hear these. Okay, Christina says, I have started saying no expectations, and every time something amazing happens, like dragonfly flies, which is my dad saying hello. I love that, Christina. That's awesome. Awesome, right? And then over here, we've got Lindsay saying, I see 911 or 1111 all the time for many, many years. My birthday is also 9/11, but I know it's a message from my guides. I love this, right?
Funny you say that right then, because I looked at the clock here and it's 6:22, which is my birthday, right when.
Oh my God. Isn't
I know.
that
when you said that, I was like, oh. So that's what's cool. It's like synchronicities within synchronicity.
Yes. Right? Oh my God, this is so much fun. Okay. And then, so Shar says, I have an uncle and a sister that are passed. And a while ago, I asked for a quarter with my uncle's birthday if he was with me. Wow. That's like, talk about specific, right?
Wow.
And a little while later, I saw a roll of quarters sitting out with his birth year on the end. And my sister's year, she passed on the other end. I cried and started talking to them. Right. Shard, that's exactly how it is. Like once you feel confident, right? It's like once you believe, it's about believing,
and asking, giving permission and asking, because a lot of times we'll just be like, well, I don't see that, or well, that doesn't happen to me. It's like, have you asked? Have you done it? Because intention is everything. You've got to set like an intention or say, hey, I'm open to this. And I know that sometimes it may be scary and you don't want to say I'm open to it because it's like, well, I'm not open to this. Because I've had a lot of people I've worked with that are just like, I don't know. Or they may have like shut it down when they were kids because they got scared of something. And
right. That happens a lot. As a matter of fact, it's interesting because just yesterday, I was talking to a client and they were like, can I tell this person to go away, the spirit to go away? And I said, absolutely you can. I said, but honestly, I would leave the door open. I mean, like say, you're bothering me now. You need to go. But you know what? Maybe I'll invite you, because it was somebody they knew that had passed, right? So I said, but maybe just say, but I'm going to leave the door open. And if I call you, if I call on you, you can come back. So it's kind of like you have free will. You can do whatever you want, you know? I mean, that's the cool part of all of like spirit work, if you ask me, you know?
Exactly. It's you're in control all the time, and you get to
Yes.
experience what you want and what you want to feel. And this is me and my mom talk about this a lot, because when I was getting like opening to all the spirituality stuff, she was very not cynical, but just kind of like, like more literal and everything, and
Yeah.
logical. And then she started to, because she experiences, or used to experience, chronic pain, because she started to harness the power of her mind
Oh,
and how to utilize that. Because she started saying, wait, because being a mom, if you get a worried thought about your kid, or your kid goes somewhere, all of a sudden you're thinking, oh my God, the cops are going to call me, and they're like dead on the street, right? And
yeah,
so,
yeah.
so she would be like really worried. And she goes, she said, I would just have a thought and my whole body would get sick, even if I knew it wasn't happening. So she's like, if we can do that, we can do the opposite, right? Think about something amazing and great, and all of a sudden be healed. And I was like, yeah, like it's just cool to have those moments with my mom, because for a while she was just very like, she was not that she wasn't open to that, but she hadn't seen it yet, So
Yeah,
it was just
yeah.
cool to have that experience with my mom, because we both have these conversations where it's like, yeah, I saw that too.
Oh, I love that. That is so cool. Oh my
There's
gosh.
another message, or there's another story here on my Facebook page from Skya.
Okay, go
Uh,
ahead. What is
It says, this is so the topic of context right now. My boyfriend, who has passed, would put the paper towel dispensers off at work. He'd interrupt my thoughts of sadness regularly. After so many times of paper towel dispensers going off during specific times or songs playing, I know it's him. I was going to type all this up, but you brought it up about the boyfriend, and I knew it was my sign to share it. It
Yeah.
will feel like they're right here. And that's so funny. And that's what I was saying about the miracles are in the mundane. Like
Yes.
the silly things like a paper towel dispenser. It's like, and Skya was smart enough to know, wait, even though it's something quote unquote small, and like maybe some people would be like, oh, that's just a coincidence. It's a paper towel. Like, why? But if it happens over and over again, it doesn't matter. And sometimes it speaks to the person's personality if it's someone who passed.
Yeah,
Right?
for
Like,
sure. For
if you see
sure.
something, I have my very first boyfriend passed when we were really young, and he
Oh,
was a joker. So he'll always show me like hilarious things, or it will
fun.
always be with an air of like it'll be him, like I'll see a flash of him like running down the street or something, and I'm like, what? And I'm like, no. And then I'm like, of course it's him. Like that's how he is. Like, yeah, wow. Like, because he would just come over and like, like tap you and then run away, or what. He was just a crazy, crazy guy. So
I love that.
that's how
Oh,
they have the same kind of personalities a little bit, even
yeah.
in their past.
Absolutely. 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 I want to read a couple more of these. Okay. So Dominique says, my good friend passed away during COVID. I was really sad about her passing. And a year later, I was journaling outside and I heard humming behind me. I turned around and there was a hummingbird just hovering. That's awesome. That is so cool because you know, I just love hearing that. The hummingbird thing and dragonflies and birds and feathers.
Yeah,
Feathers are a
always
thing.
better. A lot of animals. So one thing about the psychic world is that animals and children are very tapped in, tuned in without really trying. And like we were talking about with the energy being light, they're
Yeah.
not as connected to their life on earth as because they haven't been programmed or conditioned, So they're just like they're way more just flow with what is going on. And when that happens, those messages can come in and out easier. And it's easy sometimes if you being human where it's very dense, to have those messages from animals because animals are a little less kind of connected to or like attached to
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
how we
But they show up, they do their little things. They'll pitter patter along the road. Well,
yeah.
after I had a lab boxer mix and his name was Clifford and I loved him. Oh my God. Obviously, I loved him so much. I mean, how can you not love animals? But anyway, so he used to do this thing. We have, hard floors in our bedroom. And he used to, but when he was alive, like you'd hear him up, like he would always, I'm just gonna say it, he would wake me up in the middle of the night, almost literally every single night. And you'd hear this tick, 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 because it was his nails on the floor, After he passed, I would still hear the tick, 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 and I'll be like, hi, Clifford, It's so cute.
It is so cute. And it's cute how you can like they do either the same things or you'll see a flash
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
always those things where I'm like, pay attention to those things. That just a tiny little flash, you might be like, oh, that's just something I saw in my eye. No, it's all like,
Yeah.
it's all connected. And then Sky
Yeah.
is saying this thing about songs that people play, and how
Yeah.
they're connected to the signs. Because signs, if you see them and you're acknowledging them, they can also compound into different ones. So Sky is
Yeah.
saying with like the paper towels and songs, it's like everything
Yeah.
starts to like
Yeah.
combine. That happens with my dad. My dad would sit there in the garage and record. So back in the day of cassette tapes,
Yes.
he would sit with his boombox that had like two cassette tape things and then like record one onto the other to make a perfect like playlist.
Yeah.
And he'd like call us in the garage, hey, check this out. Okay, listen. And one song would end and he'd be like, 1, 2, 3, record. 1, 2, 3. And so he had like this symphony, like how to like record the tape.
Sure.
It very like OCD type energy, right?
Uh-huh.
About like getting everything perfect. And so when he plays me songs, he will play like playlists that one song will play off another, and it's a literal story or a metaphor. It's him speaking to me through a number of songs in order. It's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Oh my God. Yeah. Music. Oh God. Yeah. Music. My mother, my father, my college boyfriend talks me through music. Everybody seems to, well, because I used to be in the music industry. So it was kind of like, I feel that, you know what I mean? Music is important to me, kind of thing. So they know what's important to you. So then they deal with it, they use that as a modality. I love that. So Amy says, shortly after my husband passed away, my daughter and I were driving on the freeway and the song Forever and Ever Amen by Randy Travis came on.
I love that song.
I know. I love that song too. Oh my God. Right in front of us was an 18-wheel truck that said Mann Brothers on the back. My last name is Mann. That song came, and the song that came on right after that was 18 Wheels and a Dozen Roses, which I love. What is it?
I
Kathy
love
Mattea.
that song too.
Sure, it was Kathy Mattea. I love that song. 18 Wheels. Oh my God. My husband used to always get me roses. I knew for a fact it was him. Wow. There have been many more signs since then, even a license plate that read 501 Amy. Oh my God, that's so cute.
Wow.
I love these. These are great. It's like you just know that they're weird. But you know what I love in all of these stories that I'm hearing is that you guys believe, you know what, without a doubt, that it's your loved one there. Right? All these stories that it's still the same thing. You believe. Now, let's go a little bit further than that. What if if you guys follow me, I love that. What if it's not just these little things? What if they're having a part in your daily life? What if they're there when you're making breakfast? What if they're there and you just aren't feeling it, or you don't have these signs, these tangible things?
Yeah. And that's the work I do when I tell people, I'm like, everyone is a psychic. Everyone is a medium. It's just, are you open to hearing it? And if not, that's fine. And if you work on it and develop it, it's just like any other thing. If you study it or if you put your whole self into it, it will happen, because where your intention goes, that's where it flows,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Beautiful. Exactly.
And interesting too, because when we're talking about the Randy Travis song and 18 Wheels and a Dozen Roses, this is where it gets granular and specific, because I see the kind of symphony of like, my guides brought me here with you, Lauri, on this day. And was it Amber, or the one with the last name man that was just talking about that? Amy, and brought Amy here also. And the fact that we knew the songs she was talking about, even though they are popular songs, still, it's like those things are all orchestrated, every detail. And so it's not just that we have these synchronistic stories and we're telling them, it's that we're all connected by them as well, which is really cool.
I know. Isn't that the fun part? Like, I don't know. The reason why I love this conversation so much, I think, is because it's sort of unknown. It's the unknown. Like we'll know once we cross over and get over there, we'll know what it's like, obviously. But right now, we can choose to believe it. And I can say this with let's just say some authority, because I've been a medium for quite a long time, and spirits have told me what it's like on the other side. And sometimes they get a little frustrated because we aren't seeing their signs. They aren't like, they're like, come on, like, you know, sometimes they get a little frustrated by that. But the reality is that if we believe it, then it is, you know, because it's all energy. I hope I'm not going totally far out there. Does that make sense?
No such thing as far out with me.
Yeah, I know. That's why we get along so well.
Yeah. And it's insane how detailed it can get if you really, really pay attention to it. I think there was a question on your page. It was someone named Katie, I think, when we started talking about this. And she was asking about, what did she say about what specific things mean? Because a lot of times people will come to me and ask for very like, what does 1111 mean? Or I always see 123, the time, what does it mean? And what I have found, and this is something I said on the comment thread, was that what I've noticed is that the more obsessed, or the more that a person tries to understand on a cognitive level what it means,
Yeah.
the less clear it's going to be, because we're trying too hard to make sense of it on a human level. Mm-hmm. When we let go and kind of feel in our hearts what the connection might be, then it gets easier. So I have found, like, being a psychic and stuff, that when people come to me and they're like, oh, okay, I see this number all the time, and this, it means this, and they get very specific about everything, and I'll almost feel like their guides are saying, no, it's just us saying, like, you're doing a great job. Right. Or or sometimes they will see and think it's a very general message, and I'm like, oh, no, it's actually a very specific one. So sometimes it's this weird catch-22 of like what the person thinks in their human mind. It's actually the opposite. And so I like to it's interesting to see that.
You can't make it be too much. What if it's just take it at face value, you know?
Just feel how cool it, just like, wow, like that's
just appreciate how cool it is.
That's interesting. Here's another one that my friend Dorothy has here. She said, when my mom was sick, I was going through a lot of turmoil because of someone I was dating and was very stressed. I started seeing so many feathers everywhere. I could not pass them. I had to stop and pick them up, and I had a pretty sizable collection of feathers everywhere. Then one day at work, I was having a very hard day. I was smoking at the time. I was outside in the smoking area, and down the sidewalk came a balloon floating. And when it got to me, I got a hold of it, and it said, happy birthday. The date was May 7th, and it was my dad's birthday.
Oh my gosh. I love that story.
That's amazing. It's,
you know, and so that leads me to the question, and I'd love to hear your take on this. Okay. Because I know what my take is, but I want your take. Can they manipulate physical items? Can spirit manipulate physical items, like the balloon? Clearly it can. But
I think,
what are your thoughts on that?
I think they can, and I think also that they can show up like as themselves. Like I was saying with my friend, like I will see them running down the street, and then I'm like, that's physically impossible. Like, how am I seeing the person that passed, like, in their body running? But it's always like out of the corner of my eye where I can't fully be like, I literally saw them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's always some kind of like, and that's, I feel like, the mystery of spirit. It's like they want to keep it mysterious. You know what I mean? There's the mystery of spiritual. But I do think they can manipulate physical objects, and I think that it can happen more or less depending on the person who's receiving them's level of openness around it. Because if you're scared if it happens, then they're not going to do it. But because this reminds me, I went to a medium one time, and I talked to Ryan, my boyfriend that passed, and she was like, he wants to know if it's okay for him to like turn on and off lights or something, just to let you know that he's physically there. And I was like, I would love that. That would be amazing. I would love that. And then a few weeks later, it started happening, and I got terrified, and I was like, no, never mind. I got scared because I just didn't, because it was like late at night, and I felt alone, and it was like the lights flickering. I was like, no.
Yeah.
And so as soon as I said that, it stopped. So,
oh my God. Oh.
So even though they can't, I mean, like, I want to hear your take on it, like, because I know, being a medium, I'm sure you see that all the time. But it's, I think that yes, and you can tell them how much or how little to manipulate based on like what your level of comfort is, and they'll listen and support you on that.
Yeah. Well, and you can say to them, look, okay, so the light thing is not working for me because it freaks me out. But if maybe just I don't know, you can make up it, move my, I don't know why I'm thinking lipstick, but put my lipstick somewhere, or like move my glass, or move
Yeah,
something,
I will say like, or I'll say like, make my shoulder tingle, or like I will say to
Yeah.
like make my feel a certain way. I had
I
a
like that.
situation where I had just gotten this like scary, it wasn't a surgery, but it was just like it was a infection I almost got or something. And I had to take care of myself at home without a nurse. And it was scary. And my friend who had passed a few years earlier was a nurse. And so I just was in the shower, like crying, saying, Autumn, Autumn, Autumn. And then all of a sudden I felt her, like a hand on my shoulder. And I was like,
Oh,
wow. And all of my
oh,
fear, I was literally in the shower, like crying inconsolably,
yeah,
stopped.
yeah.
I was like,
Oh, that's so neat.
it
Oh
became
my,
okay. I was like, oh, I'm
yeah,
fine. Thank you.
yeah,
It was like
yeah.
instant.
Sometimes that's all you need. It's just that little tiny bit of like whatever. I don't know if you want to use the word encouragement or just acknowledgement, like that's all that they need to do is just acknowledge it. And then you feel better because you know that they're there. Oh, I love that. That's
Exactly.
such a beautiful story, Erin. Oh.
Yeah, thank you.
I love that. Okay, let me read Cheyenne's story. Well, my last reading from you guys, I guess we must have read Cheyenne when we were here together before. You brought up something about BMX stunt people coming through. I wasn't sure what that was about until the next day I found on my cousin's cousin passed, and he did BMX. Wow. And his BMX team put on a whole BMX fundraiser show to raise money for his service and daughter. Oh, that's amazing.
I remember this because this person reached out to me afterwards and was like, because I kept seeing Evil Knievel. And I was like, I don't know why. Maybe he's a spirit guide of yours. Like, or is there something having to do with a stunt person in your life? And it was the question she had asked was nothing to do with, or it didn't seem like it had anything to do with that. And that's why I always say be open to all messages because you
Yeah.
never know. And what we realized, because I think her cousin, excuse me, I think her cousin died like days after that. So I think what we realized is like he was letting her know ahead of
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Then afterwards she was able to say that's what that was about. So that's why I always tell people suspend your need to know. And I had someone say this to me once because I was really upset. I think I was like on a vacation in Hawaii. And the reason I put vacation in quotes is because I did not plan well and I had no money when I was there and I was like freaking out about it and everything. And I was trying to understand why everything was happening. And the woman I was staying with in the room, she kept saying, delete your need to understand.
Yeah.
Like just delete it. And I liked the word delete because it made me realize I can just hit the button and say delete
Yeah. Yeah.
this need to like this epic need to like understand why it's happening.
Right.
And it was really great to be like, oh wait, I don't even have to, I can just delete that need. It was just a cool moment.
Yeah. But you know what though? It's like you trusted it. You trusted that idea. And to be honest, that's another sort of tangible thing. Like when you said it's like you can hit the delete button. You can hit the delete button. And that's a tangible thing for you to do. So you go and you look and you find the delete button and you hit it. That's tangible. Even though it's not, even though it doesn't have to do with that. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
like when we are as human beings sometimes, and I'm like this too. I've been doing this a long time, but even sometimes still, I need, to know that little thing. Like I don't 100% believe 100%
Well,
in something.
especially if we're
You
in
know,
it. Like if
yeah,
we're really in a hard
exactly.
time or we're really in a human experience that's like, this
Yeah,
is effed up. Like there is no understanding of this on any level for me right now.
yeah,
And that's I always tell people, I'm like, at the end of the day, we're here to have a human experience, which is a SHIT show. It's just
yeah,
about we don't know, and at some point, it's not going to be something that we can have any understanding of in the moment. And the best thing to do is try to flow as much as possible with what's happening and trust. And that's why when I talk about surrender, I say surrender isn't giving up or saying or like letting go. It's really just
absolutely.
saying there is a larger intelligence that knows more than I do that is making things happen like this. I don't know why. I just got to wait until the seas have calmed and I see the thing, because sometimes we can't see it, until it's sometimes even years later,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You just need to like, and I loved what you said in that you just gotta like, just take in the whole reading, take in everything, because maybe later on you'll figure out what that means, because that's like the bottom line to all of this work. So, I mean, it's like you just don't really, sometimes you don't know right away. And that's just it,
Yeah. And it's interesting we're talking about this. My friend Colleen is, she's talking about having a situation right now that's really hard. And it's interesting that we're just right when we start talking about that, she popped on saying, "Hi, I'm late to the party, just showed up." And then she's like, "Oh, I'm in a really hard situation right now." She said, "I tried to say I can't control it, so why stress? But it is so hard." So maybe, do you want to pull a card for her? See what?
Oh, sure.
If you feel up to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So
we're going back and forth about doing full readings. I like, we can kind of do it by feel, but I feel like it's meant to be if she just got here and we're talking about situations that are tough. And then
yes, I'm loving it. Loving it. Okay. So is there an area, a specific question that you have, Colleen, or,
let's see.
Let's see what she says.
Yeah, let's see if it pops up from there.
I'm in an effed up situation in so many ways. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry to hear that. All right. So you know what I'm going to do? No, I'm talking to Colleen right now. Sorry, Billy. Okay. So Colleen, I'm going to wait just another second.
Yeah.
Maybe she's typing is like what I always kind of think.
Also, I mean, we could just pull a card. Well, hold on.
Will I win a legal case with my second home? Okay. So interestingly, just before I got that, okay, just before I saw the thing there, I pulled this card, and it's so interesting what I'm getting about this. Okay. And it says expansion
11.
and it's 11, right?
Cool.
Isn't that the coolest thing ever? Oh my God. Okay. So Colleen, I'm getting this feeling of, I need to tell you to think outside the box. Okay. I'm feeling, whenever I tap into your energy, I'm feeling kind of like stiff, and I'm feeling like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Right. And I feel like that you are looking straight ahead, which is fine. Okay. However, I'm thinking that there's a point that you may miss. I don't want to say miss. There's a point that you haven't seen yet. I'm going to put it to you that way. Okay. And I feel like if you take the blinders off, and if you allow yourself to look at all of it from a different perspective, you're going to see something that you hadn't seen before, and it's going to change your perspective. Okay. So I know that doesn't actually answer your question. Am I going to win the case? However, I feel right now a little bit balanced. Like it could go either way, but I am saying, like, it feels good. Like I feel good whenever I tap into what's going on with you. It feels good. It feels positive for you. So while I can't say, because again, judges, juries, blah, blah, blah.
Also, I mean, there's so many different, with court cases, especially, there's so many different free will decisions and changes. I mean, it's like the butterfly effect. One little thing changes something, and it's like all these timelines that are constantly changing. That's why, Lauri, you hit the nail on the head with like Colleen, how you go into the situation is gonna affect the outcome also. And this isn't.
I feel like that there's something regarding the case that that nobody has thought about yet. And so I feel like I want to say to you I don't know if you meditate or anything like that, but maybe meditate, give this up, create an intention for yourself. Okay. And create an intention for yourself, and go from there. You know what I'm saying? Colleen says, my house was flooded and insurance said I didn't tell him it was a secondary home. Yeah, I have a whole other thought process on insurance, but so they may deny the claim. Oh my God. Wow. Oh my gosh, Colleen, she would be out around
Yeah.
600,000. That's insanely stupid. Um, there's a do some more research. I wish I could be more specific.
Well, it's hard.
You know?
These are the things there, it's interesting. I've actually, some of the psychics that go online and do, a lot of them actually will say like, I don't speak to court cases or things having to do with pregnancy because there's so many, it's very sensitive and there are so many things that change and shift. And as a psychic, you don't want to say a yes or a no to something that,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Well, I will say it's not that though. Like as far as I've talked to people about court cases before, and I can feel like really positive, like I feel like this is going to end great or whatever, but I feel like it's still on the fence. And I feel like that there's a missing piece of the pie. There's something missing that you're going to know. Hold on. I'm going to ask my guides for more specificity. Wow. That's a word, huh? Specificity. You know what? It's interesting because I keep going back to I don't know what state you're in, but I feel like go on to every state is going to have an insurance commission, something along those lines. There's I turned corner. Oh gosh. Look on, what happened?
Sorry, I went to click on something and it all of a sudden opened our whole video and started playing.
That's okay. I was like, oh no. And I didn't know if that was me or what. But whatever broke needs a tool to get off. I think it was sabotage. Okay, well, that part I'm not being very clear about. Okay. Yeah, so go look online. There's always, the only reason why I know that is because my husband is an insurance broker. It's the only reason why I know that, right? So yeah, look online at the, stuff on the insurance, commission site or whatever it is. Okay. In Michigan. So, and I wish you so much luck and love. Oh my gosh, Colleen. And dare I say it?
That was not a bad question, Colleen. She said, I knew that was not a good question. No, I didn't mean that. No. Yeah. No. It's just a tough, those are, especially something that's an active court case, and it's hard, especially, and that's why we're talking about it now, because it's a thing that's very hard to go through. And so you want as many people around you that can listen and acknowledge where you're coming from. You know what I mean? I think that's a big piece of it too for you, is having people around you that are like, yes, that did happen. I believe you. Let's work. Let's ground our intentions together so that you have people around you that are supporting you. You know what I mean?
That's for sure. And Colleen, it's funny because it's not funny, but it's not funny. Haha. It's like ironic, I guess, is that I can't stop. Like my body is like tense. Like I can feel your stress, and I've been there, anybody that's owned a house, we've been in situations, right? I mean, been in situations and, it's tough. It's tough, especially when there's a lot of money involved. I mean, that's, so I wish you so much love and luck, and please let us know what ends up happening with that, but yeah, good luck. Namaste on that. I love that. Okay, so wait, there was one other story thing that I wanted.
Because it's interesting. Are you on, what page are you seeing that on? I'm not seeing any of those comments, but maybe I'm not supposed to see that.
Which comments?
Are the ones where you're reading the stories?
Oh, that's interesting. It's on probably the YouTube or.
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah, that's what I'm not saying. Okay.
Right, because we're live. You guys, we are live on 8 different social media platforms. Oh my God, it's crazy and cool all at the same time. So Dorothy Sherman says, and this is from your Facebook page, when I was first married, it wasn't a good marriage, and I would drive home from work and pass. I think it was a church. Oh, I see. Okay. I'm not sure, at an intersection, and there would be a dark figure would be there in a trench coat and a hat. And I would be very stressed because I didn't want to go home. And every day I would see his figure and I would be so upset. One day I said to the figure, go away. And then after that, I realized that the figure could have been my grandfather because he always wore a long coat like that. Very interesting.
Interesting too, because we just talked about that, where if something is a sign, it can feel scary if your guides don't know that it's going to scare you, because they don't know, they're in spirit, they're not human. So they'll be like, oh, I'm going to send her a puff of smoke. And you might be like, oh my God, it might be like a black thing that you're scared of. So it's like, you can talk to your guides and say, okay, I think this might be you. If so, can you show up to me in this way? Or can you morph the energy to look like this? So that, it's something that makes you feel more comfortable, because they can move and morph and change, you know, whether it's a spirit or whether it's a synchronicity or your guide speaking to you through synchronicity. You are the one in control. So you can tell them what to send you, as opposed to like just saying whatever sign you want.
And you know what? And I think that's a great sort of subject matter to sort of say before we leave, is that you have control. And I think that you should speak to this more, Erin, because you guys, Erin is the most well-spoken person I think I've ever met. The way you speak is just so beautiful, and it's so understandable and all of that stuff. But what I want you to talk to is really just allowing yourself to just calm down and just take it for what it is. Okay, so go ahead. Can you speak to that a little bit?
So you're talking about allowing yourself to see and hear different synchronicities by
Yes. Synchronicities or spirit, you know, if spirits are coming around and you're not sure what it is and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah. So do you mean how to like interpret what's coming through, or what? I'm wondering.
No, I'm thinking more of like just in terms of not being scared of it and taking control of it.
I see. I get it.
Sorry,
Yes.
I wasn't very
No,
clear.
totally fine. What I would say first is, when you're like dabbling or whatever, is for you to give permission and then ask a question. Because with spirit, because they're so like open and moving around, whether it's an actual spirit or a synchronicity or a guide, if you just kind of, a lot of times people that I talk to need support, but they don't. And this is hard too. This is especially hard for women. We don't know how to ask for support, because we always are supporting other people. And so we have to be the ones to take like almost like command, and not in like a pushy way, but command of our lives and what we want and how we want to feel. So the first part about that is kind of like checking in with where we are now. Like, where am I now? And being okay with that. Like, I might be nervous or sad or whatever. And then what will support me? What will support that feeling? Just feeling it. Do I need a sign or a feeling from something outside of me, whether it's a guide or whatever? And then asking, first of all, giving permission, saying I'm open to seeing this kind of, or feeling this kind of thing. And then, well, giving permission and then asking for a specific thing. That way it's consistent, it's easy to understand, it's clear, because clarity is everything. And allowing yourself to like not judge the process. I know a lot of people that, well, when they start asking me about synchronicities or psychic things, they want to like get it right. They're like, how do I ask? How do I do this? I'm like, it's going to be different for everyone. So do what feels right to you. So sometimes we have to work on like, well, what does feel right to me? Because some people are just don't know, because they've been kind of disconnected from their own gifts, you know?
Yes.
And so I will help them to kind of get back into their empowerment around what certain things mean. So anyways, it's kind of like a roundabout answer, but
no, that's perfect. I mean, I just really want to empower the audience, because here's the thing. Everybody's talking about like, okay, so first of all, before we turn anything off, I have to say happy birthday to Iran. I don't think we're going to get to any more readings, but I just wanted to say happy birthday. So happy birthday to you. I really wanted to say that you have more power than you know. You know, we all have more power than we ever can realize. And when we allow ourselves to take over, or to get rid of the doubts, and just come into a place of acceptance that that there is something. I don't want to sound all programmy, but like there is a higher power, whether you believe it's Jesus or Buddha or whatever.
I always say that. I'm like, whether it's God or the universe or that tree over there, like it can be like
exactly. It could be the tree, 100%. Whenever we just sort of allow that to happen, things can start to shift within our way of thinking. So I hope that made sense. I don't know if
it does make sense. Totally 100%. And it's like when we and that's a process too. Like it's hard. We can't just tell ourselves like, let go of the doubt, especially if our whole lives we've been programmed to not believe ourselves, or we were with parents who were like, like didn't really listen to us or acknowledge us. It can be hard if we have that programming to like go, oh, I'm just magical and I know it. And it does take time. It takes a long time to,
for sure.
I remember in the beginning when I would get confused around like, when is it me speaking and when is it like, because I would learn about a lot about empath stuff, and I always felt like, when is it my own feelings, or when is it like feelings that I'm feeling of the room or other people here? And so it just takes time sometimes to, and that's why I always tell people, do your homework, go to websites, hire a coach, like do like read books about it, really expand your understanding and your consciousness, because the more intention that you put around expanding, the more information you're going to get, and the easier it will become when you ask for the help, whether it's from spirit or people like us or anyone else,
And there are so many different ways to learn about this stuff. It doesn't have to be like, at first, gosh, whenever I was first, this was like 23 years ago, I was like starting to learn, and I was like reading books, and it's not like I can't read. Okay. So I'm going to say that, but I just don't enjoy sitting and reading a book. My mind goes different places. Right. But books on tape, every time. I love books on tape. Audible is like my favorite thing. So I can be doing like, I don't even know. I can be mopping the floors and listening to my book on tape, right? And I can I'm listening to a Ram Dass sort of lecture series right now on the Bhagavad Gita. It is freaking insane and it's so good, right? But I can do housework. Oh, I don't want to say this too loud. I can do housework all day long if I'm listening to Ram Dass. It's like, you know what I'm saying? But the reality is there are lots of ways to learn. You can take a class. Erin and I both teach classes. There are many, many different ways to learn this stuff. So
I mean, that's my like signature masterclass. It's called Unlock Your Psychic Gifts. Like how we are psychic from birth, how we may have lost it, what the ways that we disconnect, and then how to reconnect, And so, that's what is. And I think that's why it's so great that I said this to a client earlier today. We are all walking each other home.
Oh yeah. Right. Yeah. I first heard him say that, I'm sure somebody else said it first, I'm sure, but that's so beautiful.
And it's like, even if when I have a client, I'm like, you're my teacher. So I'm your teacher, but you're my teacher too. Like we are working with each other. It's not, I know more than you do and I need to teach you. Yeah. We are all, our consciousness is amazing. And whether we however we feel about ourselves is how we're going to feel about ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. Tonight was so much fun. I mean, Erin, I swear to God, I mean, we are going to do this like more often because I can't tell you how uplifted I feel. And I'm hoping you guys do too from this conversation. It's I don't want to say it's an important conversation, but it is an important conversation.
It is. And I think a cool thing, I'm just going to put this out there. If anyone watching this has any ideas for a future show, or like, let's say we did synchronicities this time, last time we talked about the Akashic records and mediumship and how they intersected. Like if there's anything specific that you're like, let's talk about past lives, or let's talk about this or that, maybe we'll do past lives for our next one. I don't know. I feel like we could do either one every month, one every 2 months, something like that. Make it some kind of series where we answer everyone's questions or whatever,
Absolutely. So yeah, definitely going to have you back for sure, Erin. Thank you so much for being here. This is so much fun. I mean, I love doing this show because I love meeting the guests and all that stuff. But you are like, and I know I think I probably even said this before, but it's like I found a soul sister. You and I feel like we think similarly, and it's easy.
It's
So
like we're the same person, but we have like this whole treasure trove of knowledge that even though we're kind of saying the same thing, it's completely different. And we're
yeah,
just filling in each other's sentences. And it's really easy. Like I was saying, a lot of times these things feel like work. It never feels like work with you. It just feels like a friendly conversation. And I know everyone feels that too. And I'm really glad. Just thank you, everyone, for showing up here and being present and telling us your amazing stories. Keep doing that. Keep finding circles and communities and people that can hold space for you and listen to these stories, because that's what creates openness. And any kind of like restriction that's in your life, it will release that when you have people around you like this and join conversations like this and talk and be heard, because you get to be heard and seen. It's really important.
Do you have a mentorship program, or do you have a life coaching type program or
Yeah.
anything?
So, well, what I do is I call it kind of like psychic coaching. So I usually work with, I do 3 or 6 month programs, one-on-one. But when I do group programs, so usually it's like some people want to be with groups, some people want to be one-on-one. If it's group, I sometimes will do 6 week or 12 week programs where we just talk about spirit, how to tap in. It's a different topic. Like we do past lives and this and that. And it's this group where I get to like mentor them into and understanding psychic gifts and then going deeper and deeper based on their own guides. So yeah, I do programs and packages based
Oh,
on,
that's great.
different people's needs.
Perfect. Perfect. So in the comments or wherever you can see all of the contact information for Erin and for me. I do spiritual life coaching as well. And you know what? And this is what one of the things, you guys, that I love so much about Erin is that we can both say that we do some sort of coaching, but there's not a competition. It's
Because
whoever you vibe with. If you vibe with Erin, please go to Erin. If you vibe with me, come to me. I don't feel that type of competition. Now, there are a lot of mediums and psychics out there that do, but
it's
you and I
interesting to
are
me
good
because I'm
that
like,
way.
there's billions of people and there's billions of spiritual. I mean, we're here to like support and love each other, and
Yeah.
everyone's gonna be different things for different people and at different times. Like someone
Yeah.
might work with me and then 2 years later be like not there anymore,
Yeah.
or might not be in a place where they can work with me or you, and then all of a sudden can't. So
Yeah.
it's just a great way to keep everyone connected,
Absolutely.
and yeah,
Absolutely.
it's
I
lovely.
love it. I love it. So, Erin, thank you so much for being here.
Thank
You
you
are
for
a
hosting. It's
joy.
just amazing.
So much fun.
Yeah.
And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you for sharing so much of yourselves. We appreciate you all. And until next time, everybody, namaste.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining.